Okay, so look at Risen 2 Dark Waters at 21:9. Now, this video has taken me so long to finish, but finally we are good to go. So before I get into my thoughts on the game, which are rather mixed, let's cover the ultra-wide support first. So there is no native support, and it requires a modded exe file, which I'll link to in the description, from the lovely Jack Foost, saving the day once again. And essentially the native game is locked at 16:9 on wider aspect ratios, and simply doesn't allow you to select a wider resolution, so the exe unlocks all of these resolutions, which is fantastic. I'll put full details on how to do the mod in the description. So once installed, right away you will notice the first issue, which you've probably already seen now on the video, and that is that you can't run the game full screen. Well, at least every time I tried over a 3-month period with multiple different reinstalls and mod installs, it simply refused to work in full screen, so there is no denying it is a little annoying. But thankfully with G-Sync turned to both work in full screen games and outside of them, I could still fluctuate nicely. You just lose a small section of screen on the top and bottom. On this point you'll see the different window colours, and that's because one version was recorded before I did a Windows update, which changed all the windows to blue. Once the mod is installed, the gameplay fully scales to the ultra-wide view, showing you more of the world on the sides of the screen. The compass is stretched in-game on the top right, and because the side dial rotates when you're anything but perfectly north-facing, it's really weirdly aligned with the rim, which doesn't move. The same issue applies to button prompts, which are stretched, and this is part of the overriding issue of the entire HUD being stretched. Not the end of the world, but always a bit annoying. The in-game menus are the same as their 16:9 versions, with the scene behind just blurring out entirely, which is nice. However, the button prompts continue to be stretched, and the resolution selection, e.g. 3440 by 1440, doesn't fit in the allocated space, so it's slightly cut off at the top and bottom. It's a bit strange, but you can work with it no problem. The inventory kind of selection menus thing, where you can read your logbook, for example, and what you're wearing in-game, is 16:9 with black bars on the sides. Again, though, the button prompts are still stretched. The main menu has the HUD elements shift to the left and display correctly, but the background image is stretched, though I actually do prefer it. It's better than having black bars, and there's only a bit of distortion to the image. Now, performance of the game is interesting. So I ran at 3440 by 1440, and whilst generally could maintain a nice 95 FPS, there are frequent sudden drops, and they're really short, but there are drops to the 70s, which may not sound bad, but these FPS drops are so sudden that they clearly display on screen, and might as well be a screen freeze because they're so jarring in the same way. So the consequence of this FPS instability is that a game that really runs very pleasantly overall is damaged by this sudden FPS loss issue, and so turns it from a smooth experience into a rather less comfortable one. Other technical issues with the game include having the mouse cursor snap to center screen whenever conversation occurs. The side effect being, if you're using a gamepad, you have to lean forward to push the cursor out of the way every single time, and after a long time of doing this, I just gave up and had to try and live with the annoying cursor stuck center view. On one occasion, I couldn't actually physically sneak into a barracks to grab a soldier's boots for an early quest, and I kept having to stand to get over the lip of the door, and that somehow triggered all the soldiers to wake up instantly and get pissed off, which meant that I couldn't complete that route of story. Now, I could have been doing this wrong, and that's not how you're supposed to get the boots, but I'm pretty sure I wasn't, and you just let me know in the comments if I was, and I apologise if I was actually just being an idiot. But it's just one of those issues that I found through the game that keeps reoccurring, small technical issues that get in the way of it being such a perfect game. On the graphic side of life, lighting is always visibly altering. I had settings as high as they could go, but the world essentially was unable to mask its adaptation to my movement. So lighting, foliage, etc. was always clearly loading in or out, depending on where I was going. I just got used to seeing trees invariably expanding as they came closer to me, with more foliage melting out of them until I got very close. Furthermore, water is one feature that I felt was so badly done. At one point I thought I was walking on land until I started sinking into it and then realised I was supposed to be in a pool of water. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing game breaking, it's just something that's really obvious when you're playing. Now, the only genuine issue I have with the game, and the one that actually makes me not want to continue playing, which is a damn shame because I really love what it's doing otherwise, is the clunkiness of both the camera in conjunction with the wooden gameplay animations. First of all, the camera just doesn't feel fluid. The camera limitations and just the way it moves creates a very rigid feeling. And as I say, the gameplay is very limited, and what you can do is very stiff. Fighting involves essentially hit and block. There's 3 animations really overall. You have shooting, which again is stiff, and movement really to do anything even basic like walking and running is all as if each one was created and then joined together with the others. They weren't designed to flow together fluidly. Now, it's not the end of the world. It's not a huge AAA title. It's not a brand new release. So it is easily acceptable to just allow and just look past these issues. And I'm sure many of you will have very little problem with any of these points, and that's brilliant, because the actual game is really fun. The mix of pirate with fantasy is really interesting and something I want to spend a lot more time with. It's a shame that the issues do present themselves, as it's such a promising title. It's challenging, I died a lot, which is a tip for you guys, make sure you save frequently. And the last point to note, which isn't bad or good, but instead a very personal opinion, as it depends on what you desire to get from the game, and that's the limited guidance on what to do. It doesn't have quest markers and maps filled with icons that you just run point to point with. And whilst I love that, as games like Ubisoft titles simply overload a player with these sometimes, I felt at times, especially after long absences from playing, that I struggled to work out what I needed to do to progress. At one point, finding myself clearly out of my depth, surrounded by millions of damn huge crab things. But I suppose that's part of the overall fun, exploring and trying to work out what you're supposed to do next. But personally, I would have liked a little bit more direction. Overall, the problem is, because of its shortfalls, it really is extremely hard to recommend this game over competition like Assassin's Creed 4, which is easily hands down the best Pirates game ever made. So what would be the allure of this over that? Well, it could be the supernatural element and variety of weird goddamn monsters. But due to the extremely basic combat and gameplay fluidity, combined with the graphical glitches and the like, Risen 2 is in a difficult position to sell itself. In my opinion, I'd say play Assassin's Creed Black Flag, then come and play this for more pirate fun with a big supernatural twist. Anyway, I hope that gives you some information on how the game runs at 21:9. Give this video a like if you found it helpful, and subscribe for future info. For any other games at 21:9, head over to my channel. Hopefully I've covered it. If I haven't, then leave a comment down below and I'll try and cover it. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, then links to my Patreon page are in the description. See you later.
Oi, you! Where do you think you're going? The pirate camp. It's around here,